Yo, what's going on, guys? Going to be going over today's trade recap, what I ended up taking today, and my overall thoughts on what we did today in the market. So overall, coming into today, I was pretty neutral, right? We did have some obvious draws on the S&P 500 being previous day low, and also an unfilled 4-hour gap, which we left a failure swing to. So I was definitely looking at that as an area that we could 100% manipulate to continue this move bullish on the higher time frame. Overall market structure inside of here wasn't the best, and we did have this hourly unfilled gap above us right here. So this was sort of my condition coming into today, considering we had, did we hit it? Oh, we did hit it. Okay, so we had CPI as well. So we had data highs resting inside of an hourly gap. So honestly, I was pretty neutral. Like, there's not really much to say for this bias. It was kind of just going to be more reactionary to the market, setting conditions for myself, and then seeing what we were going to do from there. Today's CPI was pretty trash. Didn't really do much. Kind of just opened up higher and then just chopped around. Probably the most least volatile CPI I've seen in a pretty long time. So yeah, was definitely looking at data highs here. Just overall, again, being more reactionary today. I definitely didn't have a strict bias coming into today, so I'm just going to go straight into market open and show you guys what we ended up doing. Bang. Boom. Okay, boom. So market ended up opening higher here. We have a bunch of 5-minute gaps unfilled below us here. So at this point, I was pretty bearish in a sense because market did open higher here into this hourly gap, and we did have clear draws to the downside here. So again, I was just looking for something to confirm that we're going to be bearish here. I definitely would have preferred to take in a continuation short from this level here, just because we did have a lot of liquidity to clear out here, and we had to burn through a good bit of high resistance gaps to get to that to get to this low resistance and these levels down here. So I was pretty much just waiting here. We did have this unfilled 15-minute gap below us as well. So again, was just waiting. And I think in 9:30, basically, at this point, was when I started to lean more bullish than bearish, because on the S&P 500, at this time, this was let's just see what the S&P 500 did at 9:30. If we want to go over to it here, we can see that boom, the S&P 500 was definitely trending towards this data wick that I had, and it's also unfilled hourly gap that I had above here. So I think this SMT was definitely sort of meh, because it was just looking like an obvious spot that ES wanted to manipulate to. So what we ended up doing at around 9:45 is we ended up opening this 15-minute fair value gap, which was right here. Cool. So ended up opening up this 15-minute fair value gap right here. Obviously, the 15-minute candle just skipped ahead there. And what we were doing was simply just generating more liquidity to Asia session highs, which was what it was looking like here. So this 15-minute fair value gap was 100% going to be my condition. As you can see, we came into this 15-minute fair value gap at around 950, which was a really nice, healthy rebalance here on this range. I'm pretty sure it was like bang on CE, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was it was almost bang on CE. It was 5-minute CE anyway of this leg that we had right here. So this internal 5-minute range. We wicked past CE, and we also wicked this 15-minute fair value gap beautifully. We wicked the CE very nicely, and then we get an immediate 1-minute inversion right here. Now I was thinking of taking this and then going break even above, but I decided to hold on because we did have a 4-minute gap and a 3-minute gap, and we were still technically okay. It's just not going to go to the 4-minute. We had a 3-minute gap here and a 4-minute gap. They're basically the same gap. But at this point, I still wasn't fully convicted because we were still technically respecting bearish PD rate being this hourly gap. But if we did deliver into this 15-minute and then start displacing out of it, we had no reason to look at that hourly gap as an area that we can reject off, meaning just overall, like if we are going to be bearish from this hourly gap, we should not respect this 15-minute condition that we have set out for ourselves here. So with that in mind, I was looking to take a 3-minute inversion here. I did want more confirmation than this 1 minute. I know there was a few people that did end up taking this 1 minute. And then targeting Asia session highs with this, but I just wanted more confirmation on this. And then we started kind of chopping around here. We left this rejection wick inside of this 4-minute gap, and then we failed to deliver lower off this and respected this 1-minute gap, and then we got this candle right here, which was just pretty tragic because overall I still probably should have taken this looking back at it and probably went for break even, but still I've just been getting break even too much, so I still wasn't a fan of this. This was a super deep close to the upside here. My stop loss would have been at this 1-minute intermediate low, which is a protected stop loss because we tapped that 1-minute gap and displaced from it. So 70-point stop loss, targeting a 70-point take profit here. If I did take this, break even would have been at Asia session highs. and then boom, literally on the next candle, bro, in one candle that delivered instantly to take profit. So not feeling FOMO from that, because I definitely had my reasonings for fading this, just because the close was just way too deep. And a candle like that to happen and deliver perfectly to a 1-to-1, by the way, and then starting to sell off, it's super, super rare. If you did end up taking this and holding for a 1-to-1, fair enough. That is, I respect that. But for me, I just wasn't really too much of a fan of it. And now we're going to get into this here as well, which we had a second setup, which was forming, which was a 5-minute long. Now at this point, I wasn't fully convicted on this either, unless we were to completely displace out of this 5-minute gap. Because right here, boom, we get this stop hunt, and then we had this 2-minute inversion that I was looking at. Again, I didn't want to take any 1 minute here or anything. I just wanted an actual confirmation that we are actually going to continue to keep this bullish trend and potentially head towards those external range highs at the top of this range here, and then start delivering out of this range, which would have been fantastic. Because this range that we're in right now is just shocking, but we ended up chopping around here, and then I think we got this 1 minute inversion right after this, right here. It was right here. Yeah, so we ended up getting this 1 minute inversion, and I didn't really like this at all. Reason being is because during this time, the S&P 500 was in a hourly gap, being the unfilled hourly that it ended up coming into. So we had an SMT with ES inside of a higher time frame key level, and the draws on liquidity on the S&P 500 were just absolutely fantastic. We had, draws lower. Apologies. We had that unfilled 4-hour gap. We had low resistance liquidity and a bunch of failure swings leading up to it again, which is what I was talking about coming in today, with equal lows lower here. Not equal lows, sorry, with relative equal lows lower. The New York lunch session lows or Asia session lows from yesterday, and that unfilled hourly gap that we left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failure swings to. So it was just looking like a really, really obvious draw. So if we did get strong confirmation, after I seen this chop inside of this 5-minute, that was the market basically telling me that, like this 5-minute really isn't holding as nicely as we thought it would. And then this ends up failing. So this was a really good fade by me. I wasn't a fan of this, and I was more leaning bearish, especially after we started displacing through this 5-minute gap. And then after this, which comes to the trade that I ended up taking today, which I ended up getting break even on, which is this trade right here. So at this point, we were still inside of this 15-minute gap, but the S&P 500 had completely disrespected all bearish PD rays within this leg of price. So the S&P 500 again was the main narrative behind this trade, and the draws on the S&P 500 were just slightly too obvious for me to fade away from this. Especially with the higher time frame narrative backing this, it was just really, really clean. So at 10:30, we ended up tapping this 5-minute fair value gap, and then we got that immediate displacement lower after this, or I guess it was 10:31 that did it. And then I ended up taking this continuation 5-minute long here, or short, sorry, with my stop loss 40 points, and I was targeting the external range low with this. I was just going to take full profit just once ES ended up taking the 4-hour, and my break-even point was at this unfilled 15-minute fair value gap, which we had down here, which was also 5-minute intermediate lows. So yeah, this was a really good trade in my opinion, especially just how we delivered from Asian session highs, how ES was delivering. Again, I'll just go over to the S&P 500 here. Again, how ES swept out London and was delivering from this hourly gap and data highs. This was just a super, super clean narrative in my opinion. We had everything that we needed to continue this bearish trend lower down to the unfilled 4-hour. So at this point, this was looking very, very nice. Ended up getting break even right here, and then of course being in this, we ended up getting break even. But this break even is solid because this ended up resulting in a loss if I did not go break even where I did. So yeah, really, really clean 5-minute cont. I was a huge fan of this. Again, the way we wicked the C, it was just really, really clean. Instantaneous displacement and reaction off of that. I expected 10:30's PO3 to kind of do the job to deliver us lower and starting to sell off towards that 4-hour gap. But we ended up kind of just chopping around here. And I think we actually ended up inversing the 15-minute fair value gap right here. And then we got this 1-minute short that ended up delivering all the way down to those draws, if I'm not mistaken. Eventually, give it time. There you go. So the DOLs and everything for today was 100% spot on. Unfortunate that we ended up not getting the ideal entry on this pretty obvious 15-minute continuation long. And then, of course, unfortunate that we ended up getting break even just for us to chop around and then inverse a 15-minute gap and then deliver to draw. But yeah, if we just want to go to the daily time frame here, guys, again, like what I said yesterday, like terrible, terrible chart. Really, really trash PA. Overall, today's PA was actually not too bad, though. I did like today's PA, but again, the range that we're in is just super, super tricky to actually determine a proper bias. We're not in any trend at all. So it is what it is, yeah. So a break-even day today. Unfortunate is what it is. Another break-even day. But yeah, it's just about keeping discipline. The market is testing you during these times. If you guys are struggling this month or this past month and a half with this terrible range that we're in, don't worry. Just keep sticking to your rules. Trust me, you'll be rewarded in the end once PA starts to clear up. And it's like we're trading purely on max difficulty right now. It's like playing the video game and playing that video game on max difficulty. But once we end up leaving this range and start trending again, it's going to be on easy mode. So let's just stick tight and stay disciplined, not lose our minds until then, and yeah, just keep up the discipline and good work, and we'll be seeing stuff a lot brighter in the future. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's trade recap, guys. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you guys have any personal questions for me, you can DM me on Discord, Instagram, or TikTok, which I will leave in the bio of this video. And then from there, yeah, I wish you guys best of luck tomorrow if you guys are trading. And yeah, excited for the future of this channel. I'm going to be documenting my entire journey to profitability, and I'm going to be teaching others how to do the same in the future. This is what it's all about, keeping it raw and real, no bullshit here. So that's going to be it for today's trade recap, guys. I will catch you in the next video. Peace.